The autumn wind is a pirate, blustering in from sea. With a rollicking song he sweeps along, swaggering boisterously. His face is weather-beaten. He wears a hooded sash, with a silver hat about his head, and a bristling black mustache. He growls as he storms the country, a villain big and bold. And the trees all shake and quiver and quake as he robs them of their gold. The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won.
For us to come home in front of our family, fans, Raider Nation, the Black Hole.
Raiders! Goddamn right.
What is up, Raider Nation? Welcome to the Just Raiders Baby podcast. I'm your host, I am Jay Raider. And on today's show, we have a lot to talk about. It has been a very busy week for the Raiders. But let's start off with the most important and probably the biggest news out there is the Davante Adams trade. So I'm pretty sure, unless you lived under a fucking rock the last week, Davante Adams is no longer a Raider. As of Tuesday, I believe, he was traded to the New York Jets and reunited with his longtime former teammate, now again teammate, Aaron Rodgers. So, we didn't really see this as a surprise. I mean, there was a lot of speculation that he was going to stay with the Raiders, especially that AOC was announced as the starting quarterback. And then that performance with the Steelers this past weekend maybe changed all that. But apparently, according to Davante, he was not happy playing with us. So let's talk about that. Davante Adams gets traded to the New York Jets, a New York Jets that's 2-4. So it's like kind of going from one dysfunctional family to another. Their head coach was just fired a few weeks ago. Um, so, but you have Aaron Rodgers, and so that makes it all just right. So Devontae is now a Jet, but there's still turmoil over there with the bad performance they had with the Bills, and then you have rumors about another receiver over there potentially being traded. So there's another level of toxicity over there. So I don't see Davante really succeeding in New York. Can I'm pretty sure he will make an impact, and they end the season probably better than the Raiders, but I don't see him in the playoffs. I really don't. But at least for us, in our perspective, a couple things happen here. So for the trade, it was a third round pick, but this is the biggest thing here is that the New York Jets now take over on Davante's salary. So we clear cap space. And now our new cap space going on to this next season is $108 million. That's a lot of fucking money. So now you have the ability to go out and draft players. You have the ability to go and get established players as well. So this is a good thing. And more importantly, we get to move on from this ongoing saga that has plagued us for the last 2, 3 weeks. And now we don't have to worry about whether or not Davante Adams gets traded because that's already happened. And there's a lot of bitter Raider fans. I'm one of them that says goodbye. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. I don't wish you luck, because there's been a lot of drama leading up to this point. The way he left the organization, it caused a lot of drama, and that's why a lot of people are saying goodbye. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. If it was done differently, if it happened in the off season, maybe people would have a change of mind and not feel the way they feel. But it happened super messy. So it's over now. We get to move on. No more Davante in Vegas. So, you know, the other biggest news that happened this week was Tom Brady is now an owner of the Raiders as well. So, same thing Tuesday, same day Davante gets traded. Tom Brady gets approved as a minority owner, 10% stake of the Raiders, along with former edge rusher Richard Seaman. Excuse me, Richard Seymour. And there's a mixed emotions about this. Some people don't want to see Brady here. Some people do. I honestly, for one, I welcome it. I was on the fence about it. I'm not gonna lie, but the way we've been operating for the last few years is just operating in a manner of kind of eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and let's see what works. There's no real football insight into decision making in the front office. So having somebody who's played the game now being in a position of operational power, I think will help us flourish and help us turn this team around. You know, I mean, let's talk about that. So, what is this going to bring to the Raiders, right? So you have not only is Tom an owner, right? So he got 10% stake in the company. His role expands beyond that. Now he's actually going to be in charge of football operations for the Raiders. Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce are going to answer to Tom Brady. It's been said that also Tom Brady is going to be more involved with this upcoming draft. There's already he's already been seen talking to one of the top prospects in this upcoming draft, with Sugar Sanders being a quote unquote mentor. You know, I don't know if that's true, but I mean, there's pictures of them both. But at least he is in his ear for sure. And who else to be in your ear than Tom motherfucking Brady, right? He is considered the greatest quarterback of all time. So having a guy like Tom Brady mentor Saunders, being seen with Mark Davis, this guy might be a Raider. I can't say that for 100% because shit has happened before, like this past draft, where we all thought Jaden Daniels was going to come over to the Raiders, having a real closer relationship with Antonio Pierce, and then we don't move up in the draft high enough, where we actually didn't move up at all. But we failed to move up in the draft to be able to acquire him. And now the Washington Commanders are enjoying the fruits of that draft, balling out in Washington. So if Brady is involved in this upcoming draft, I hope that we are really aggressive to move up in that draft class to be able to get Saunders. If we don't get Saunders, at least somebody else of that caliber. There's talks of Cam Ward from the University of Miami being another top pick. Honestly, what this team needs is a quarterback, an elite quarterback. So in this draft class, definitely we need to get that. But Tom's approval to be an actual owner now does come with some restrictions. Part of it is he can't gamble on games. He can't go into other teams' buildings or attend like any pre-production meetings for Fox NFL with his commentary. So there's certain things he can't do. But the real question is, can Tom Brady bring the same success he's had in New England and in Tampa Bay over to the Raiders? Can he reproduce that? Because one thing is for sure, that success he had was at the game level as a player. Now he's having to do this in an operational sense to decide who to bring in, who, as far as a draft or who to acquire as a player from a different team. But this is the thing: who else to have the better perspective than a former player? And a former player that was considered to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So the other question is, what does the Raiders' future hold? Where do we go from here? Right? So we are currently 2-4. And we're at a point in the season where if we are going to make a run, it has to be now before it gets out of hand. Right. So the talk right now is amongst Raider fans, or so-called Raider fans, some of them out there at least, is that do we fold up the season already? Do we tank it for draft picks at this point in time? I don't agree with that. I don't agree that we should intentionally lose games in order to move up to the draft class. You're able to move up to the draft class in other ways. Plus, you got to convince 53 men to purposely lose. These are players that have been playing football all their lives, or just almost all their lives. Alpha males, competitive people, to intentionally lose games and not go out there and try their best. I just don't see it. It doesn't make sense from that perspective. I get it. Yes, by the Raiders finishing at a low record or having a poor record will move you up in the draft class. But what does that say about the organization? You know, we already have a bad reputation as a losing franchise. Now you're going to validate it by tanking your season. Just can't do it. You can't do it. You got to play hard, and you have to try to end your season with some dignity. But I believe that we keep pushing and we trade for these first round picks to try to move up. So if we do move up, who do we draft? We definitely go for a quarterback. There's no doubt about it. Aiden O'Connell is not the answer. I'm sorry to break it to you, Aiden O'Connell fans out there, but he will always be a backup quarterback. He is not good enough to take you to the Super Bowl or go into a deep playoff run. He's not the one. You need to bring in a mobile quarterback who has the actual talent to be able to give you that push, to be able to give you 10, 11, 12, 13 wins every season consistently. Somebody who's dynamic enough to be able to make plays on the spot. That's who you want as a quarterback. He has not had one rushing attempt since he's come to the NFL. Somebody on Instagram today pulled his college stats, and he was negative 2,600 rushing yards. Negative 2,600 rushing yards. How is that possible? Because he's gotten sacked so many times because he lives in the pocket. He is not a mobile quarterback. So he's not the answer. But not only that, he's just not a mobile quarterback. His accuracy stats are false. And when I say about that, is because most of them come from check downs that you're throwing 10, 15 yards down the field, and you're not really hitting that deep route consistently. You're not going for 20 plus yards every other drive, or every quarter or anything like that. He's making one deep pass per game. And that's it. And that's how he's getting all these chunk yardage, and that's why he's getting 70% passer rating. Is because he's hitting a swing route, he's hitting a flat, he's not really moving the ball. We see it every game. So my take is that he is no more than just a backup quarterback, and that's where he's just going to be. And sometimes these quarterbacks just kind of land that way, and that's a don't call. Another thing too, we should definitely draft a wide receiver, especially now that Davante is gone and you have Jacoby Myers. Um, you have Trey Tucker. He's a speedster, and I like the guy, but other than that, you don't have much depth. So you need to draft talent to create that depth at wide receiver. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is also been trending and been kind of big news this week as well is Max Crosby in the media and the rumors that he gets traded to Detroit and the Detroit Lions. I'm gonna tell you now, Max Crosby is not going anywhere. He's not going to get traded. He wants to be a Raider. He's openly said many times that he wants to be a Raider. A person who says that and also says, "Hey, I got the fucking shield tatted on me. What makes you think I want to go anywhere else?" means that I don't see myself going and playing anywhere else in the foreseeable future, in the short term, maybe long term, but for sure not in the short term. He's openly said that he wants to retire a Raider. These are not my words. This is his. Go look it up. Max Crosby's not going anywhere. Just stop. Stop with all that noise. I know the Lions fans would love to have him, and you know, especially with Hutchinson being out for the season, will basically answer their prayers. But he's not going anywhere. Mark Davis said yesterday that he's not going anywhere. And if he's saying them, that's that. End of story. Unless Tom Telesco dares to challenge Mark Davis, which I don't see that happening, especially if he wants to keep his job. And all this talk is because Max was caught on tape saying that he doesn't want to go through a rebuild. Right? And there's people out there saying that we do need to go through a rebuild. I honestly think we don't need to go through a full rebuild. I feel that our defense is pretty solid. There is a couple positions that we need to create depth on, especially seeing this year how all the injuries has happened, and it's been a bit of a mission to try to keep guys healthy. We definitely do need depth. Do we need a rebuild defense? No, we don't. I don't think so. There's a couple guys you keep, and there's a couple guys that you can let go. on the defensive side. And I don't want to start really going to names, but couple of names have been thrown out there as of late that have not played the way they should be playing. But you know, you got free agents coming up, and they may or may not be here, depending whether they get signed or not, re-signed or not. But offensively, yes, you definitely have to rebuild that. You definitely have to beef up that offensive line because the keys to the game is always got you have to win the battle of the trenches in order for you to find success. And if we keep getting beat at the line, we're not going to find any success with our run game. We're going to have trouble trying to maintain that pocket. And Aiden O'Connell cannot scramble. It is very hard for him to scramble. So the next thing you know is he is going to get sacked a lot. And then from there, you have the potential of him fumbling and creating turnovers or being rushed where he has to hurry up the ball and create turnovers. Even if it's not Aiden O'Connell for the next guy, you definitely want to go ahead and have a solid offensive line that's able to protect the guy and create lanes for him to escape if you're drafting a mobile quarterback. But I don't I don't think we need to do a full rebuild. Offensively, yes, 100%. Getting a new quarterback, getting a wide receiver, getting more linemen. You can even get a running back, but we don't need to do a full rebuild. And with the cap space of $100 million, and you just got a third round pick, and I'm pretty sure, um, depending how the season ends, you're going to be able to go ahead and place pretty decently on the draft. You're going to be able to get somebody. This is this next draft is where you go all in. You have to. If you want a top quarterback, and if you're at number 10, number 12, or 13 again, you have to be aggressive to get up there. You have to be in the least top three. If not, you're not getting top quarterback. And I think with this draft class coming up, um, the quarterback candidates are not as much as this previous one, but also you're not having a lot of teams seeking quarterbacks. I mean, obviously, it's yet to be determined, and we see how the season finishes out. But um, we'll have a better chance of actually getting a top quarterback if we're pretty high enough. If we're top five, top three, we'll be in a pretty good position. Anything below that, you're really rolling the dice on it. But the biggest thing here, and I'm gonna tell y'all, and I've been on this train and rant for the last, I don't know, 3 weeks, is getting rid of Luke Getsy. Like I said before, if we get rid of Getsy, we can try to salvage the season. I literally got a clip from the presser the other day that he did where he literally states, and you can look this up yourselves. I'm not bullshitting or anything, but he literally says he sees no difference between running the ball or passing the ball on a 2nd and 18 situation. How the fuck do you not see the difference between running the ball on a 2nd 18 when your offensive line is struggling and you've tried a few drives before that to try to get the run game going and getting 1 or 2 positive yards in those drives, and you're on second 18, and your whole spiel is we can try to run the ball and try to get part of that back. No, you don't do that. You try to pass the ball. You're going to try to do whatever you can to gain the most yardage so that way, if you're not able to get the first down in that second and long, you're on a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 5 situation. You want to be on 32 ideally, 3rd and 1 ideally, where then you can try to run that ball. But even that, if your offensive line is struggling and your run game is not working, why the fuck are you even trying to run? It's doing the same shit over and over, expecting a different result, and it's just not working. And this is the problem with Getsy. He just does not have situational awareness, and those comments validate that. He has the inability to try to adapt to the game. He cannot adapt to the game because what happens is that the defense will make adjustments to the style of play that we're doing. And when they adjust, they stop our run game. They make us go 3-and-out. We're not able to get anything going through the air. And he's not able to make counter adjustments to that. Because the last couple of games, we've looked good that first series or two, and we score pretty quickly, or somewhat quick, and then we don't do shit for another 2.5 quarters. That's been the story of the game almost every game, the last 3 games. So what does that tell you? I just got done doing a podcast, Turf and Rundown, and we talked about this particular subject. And my whole take on this is that the offense feels like it's being restricted. There's players that seem like they want to do more, but they can't. It looks like AP wants to run a certain thing, but it doesn't happen. Why wouldn't it happen? Because that ultimately falls on the offensive coordinator to make those play calls. And if you don't have your guy, your quarterback, being able to audible at the line of scrimmage because he's seeing something happen, that's going to take a lot of your game away. And it's going to affect your game and the way you perform and the way you're able to adjust. And your level of success is going to diminish. So I say, fire Getsy, put somebody in to call the plays. And you have a couple candidates that you can actually promote to be offensive coordinator. You got Joe Philbin. He has experience with being a previous offensive coordinator, offensive assistant. And then you got Rich Scangilla. He has also offensive coordinator experience as well. You put one of those guys in to call the plays, and you let these guys just cook. You got to give some trust to your players to make decisions if they see something happening. And you got to open up the air game. If the run game is just not working, you got to do something else. You have to be able to try to adjust. And I'm going to tell you now, if we bring in a new quarterback, if we draft a new quarterback, and we still have Getsy in the same position he is in now, we're going to have the same fucking problems next year too. So AP has to step up. AP has to put his foot down because he knows the decision he has to make. He just has to do it. And he has to move on from Luke Getzey. Plain and simple. So AP, I know you won't be watching, but anyways, I'm gonna tell you, you need to fire your Luke Getzey. Have somebody else call a play. All right, but let's get down to brass tacks here, and we have a big game coming up this Sunday. Raiders versus Rams in LA. And again, I wish I could be there for that game. I am from LA. I miss home. I miss LA. And obviously, this is basically another home game for us. And it might be more of a home game than we have at Allegiant. But it's always fun. But here's my keys to victory for the Raiders versus Rams. Obviously, we got to start fast and we got to stay consistent. Obviously, you got to get Brock Bowers involved. Brock Bowers is a key. That kid is able to catch the ball and mow motherfuckers down and get chunk yardage. And then when that happens, you're going to have guys who are going to double team him and they're going to open up other guys open out in the field. You'll have Trey Tucker who can zip down the field. You have DJ Turner who is making plays. They activated Alex Bachman from the practice squad the game before versus the Steelers. You got Wilkerson as well. You know, they're not big names, but there are other receivers that can potentially make plays for you. As of now, Saturday morning, Jacoby Myers is still listed as doubtful, so we might not have him for this game. Also, so other guys have to step up to be able to compete on Sunday. The biggest thing here is once we get going, we got to stay consistent. We got to stay consistent with the momentum. We got to be kind of aggressive with the play calling. And we have to make adjustments offensively. And especially if you're going to get this run game going. If you're really focused on trying to run the ball, then you have to be able to make adjustments. You know, the O-line, yes, it's improving, but it's still not as good as what it needs to be. So if that's the case, then you have to make adjustments offensively. Obviously, without being said, I mean, we have to keep this game to one turnover or less, basically none, to be able to find, you know, the W at the end of the game. I mean, last game was just hard to watch. But if we're able to keep it where we are protecting the ball, making smart decisions, throwing away the ball when there's nothing there, you know, I say it when I'm watching the games. I'm not mad if we go 3-and-out and because there was nobody fucking open. It's just the coverage was that good. I don't want AOC to try to force the ball and potentially get an interception or a pick six, depending where we're at. So turnovers are extremely important, making sure that we keep that to a bare minimum or none, preferably, obviously. Defensively, what do we need to do? Well, obviously, we got to create pressure on Matthew Stafford. Got to let Max do his thing, let him cook. Got to get Snowden involved, and hopefully he can find success. So applying pressure to Stafford is going to be key. Obviously, neutralizing the run game is super important because then we limit them. We can't have them just run the ball for 100 plus yards in this game. If that happens, we're not going to win. They say that Cup might return for this game for the Rams. And if he does, we have to make sure that we keep him neutralized and non existent. Mind you, he hasn't really had much playing time since the start of the season. I think that's really when he got injured. So making sure that we're on him and we don't have him get in a rhythm. And then more importantly, try to create turnovers. We really haven't had turnovers this game. Obviously, you want to stick with the fundamental football and make sure we're actually tackling, but also try to create turnover opportunities and try to keep the defense off the field for so fucking long. I'm gonna go back. That's something that the offense needs to do as well is try to eat some of that game clock so that the defense has the time to rest. Because if they're out there for you know more than half of the game, I mean, how are you gonna have them keep that consistent level where you're trying to keep teams under 20 points, but you're out there all the time? Something's gonna give. So offense has to be able to put things together where they're not going just three and out right away, and then you're having your defense right back on the field. Obviously, you have your key players um, that we hope that perform on Sunday. Obviously, Crosby, Divine Diablo is back, so he had a really solid game versus the Steelers. So glad to see him back, and hopefully he continues that trend. Robert Spillane's still balling out, killing it. Keep seeing that from him. Paul Mao in that safety slot, you know, having him keep doing his thing and keep playing solid football. Offensively, goes without saying, having Brock Bowers being Brock Bowers and making an impact. No Jacoby Myers this game, unfortunately, but Madison has to really get going, and obviously you got to have AOC with minimal turnovers and definitely 2 sacks or less in this game. And he has to be able to go ahead and hit receivers and take shots downfield. Now that might be a little tricky if you have Luke Getzey making those play calls, but once you get the call that you are going to take a shot downfield, you got to make it count. You got to be accurate. So here's my final score predictions for this game on Sunday. And I'm telling people it's going to be a low scoring game. You're not going to see much production from either team. So I say either 14-10 or 14-13 Raiders, or you can even go 10-6 Raiders. I don't really see this as a kind of high scoring game or a game where you're putting up 20 points. If they do, maybe 21-14. Raiders. That means AOC has to be throwing the ball and seeing consistent drives coming from the offense throughout the game. So if we're able to go ahead and get this win on Sunday, which I have faith, I firmly believe that we can do it. We go 3-4. Then we have the Chiefs at Allegiant the following week, and the Chiefs are cooking right now. I don't see us beating them. We lost the last few times in Vegas to them, and I don't see anything different really happening. So you go 3-5. You lose to the Chiefs. You go 3-5. Then you have the Bengals in Cincinnati, and they're not playing great either. So you're able to go ahead and steal a win from there. Then you're 4-5, right? And you can potentially make a little run from there. Do I see us going to the playoffs? Probably not. But you could try to end the season 9-8, 8-9, 7-10. But I mean, anything below that, obviously, if you're 6-11 or below that, we'll move up in the draft. So we go 6-11, we're probably maybe 7 or 8 pick in the draft. Then you don't have to go so high to be able to get a quarterback. But there's still a lot of games to be played. There's still a lot of the season left. So I hope people don't just give up on the season yet. Obviously, there's a point where you're just like, fuck it. Season's done. Let's just pack up our shit and move on and look towards the next season and whatnot. I don't want to do that yet, and I hope to my fellow Raider fans they don't do that either. We'll see. But hey, I want to shout out the Black Hole in Albuquerque here. The Black Hole Albuquerque chapter Sundays at Bubba 66. So any local Raider fans, check that out. I know they're trying to do a fundraiser the next week or so. So definitely go ahead and check that out. And then for those up and coming podcasters, check out Riverside FM. There's a lot of options out there for podcasting, but I use Riverside and I haven't been happier. And this is a platform that I'm able to do a lot of stuff in. So if you're thinking about starting your own podcast, doesn't have to be sports, it could be about anything. Check out Riverside FM, riverside.fm. Go to the link in my bio, and you're able to go ahead and check it out and see what I'm talking about. And you're able to go ahead and get started on your own podcast totally for free. So you can test it out before you even commit to it. But, I had this for about almost a month, and this is a platform where you can actually, publish podcasts in 4K. A lot of other hosting companies are not able to do that. So check out riverside.fm. Go on my link, riverside.fm. All right, y'all. Rams week. Just Raiders Baby podcast. Going over Raider news and the keys to victory. Again, Please like and subscribe this podcast. Help me support this. Keep this going. I love doing this and doing other podcasts as well. But I love being in my own forum where I'm able to go ahead and talk about a lot of this stuff, bringing it to the public forum. So definitely like and subscribe to this podcast. Obviously, I also have other content that I publish on the channel as well. But catch me on my socials, Instagram at JRaider_505. That's JRaider_505 on Instagram and also X, aka Twitter. And now I am on Threads on Instagram. So follow me there as well. And if nobody knows out there what the fuck Threads is, it's basically like Twitter for Instagram. So just do a little bit more shit. It's pretty cool. And then keep tuning in for my content on Instagram and on YouTube here. I tend to post a lot of my stuff that I post on Instagram on here as well, especially the reels. And if you haven't seen my reels, check them out. They're fucking hilarious. And, I try to make everybody laugh, especially when shit hits a fan or, we're having not the best week where we're in the limelight and people are talking shit about the Raiders. So I like to make fun. I like to poke fun. So check them out. My socials again, Instagram, JRaider_505. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for tuning in. And again, always remember, just Raiders, baby.